Okay, today I'm changing the CVT fluid on my 2007 Nissan Murano. This is an all-wheel drive. I've already started. The first thing I did is I just drove the car up on these little ramps here just to get it up off the ground. You could also use a floor jack and some jack stands probably, which I do have. I just thought this might be easier. And then I've already started, but here is my oil drip pan. Not sure if you can see this or hear this, but it's already draining. Here's the bottom of the CVT here. You can see these little cooling fins. This is the drain plug right here, and it takes a 10mm Allen wrench to remove it, and it goes right in that hole there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this CVT fluid drain out. I think there's a couple parts to this procedure. This is the first step. There's actually going to be CVT fluid in the transmission itself, and then there's also CVT fluid that I guess you let the radiator discharge, because it flows through the radiator for cooling, I believe. So to do that, I'm going to take off this plastic cover here, and then I'll have to remove the little rubber tube that goes from the CVT to the radiator, the discharge side, or it's the return line really from the radiator back to the CVT. But before I do that, I'm going to refill the CVT with Nissan CVT fluid, the NS2 fluid. So yeah, I'm just going to wait for this to drain and then I'll be back. Okay, back here, still draining CVT fluid. What I've done with this milk jug is I've filled it up in 1 cup increments, and so each one of these little ticks represents 1 cup or 1/4 quart, and these larger lines represent a quart each. So what I'm going to do is, after it's done draining CVT fluid, I'm going to pour it into this jug to measure how much fluid I need to put back into the car. Okay, I've now removed this plastic cover underneath the front side of the car. There's a whole mess of little clips you have to remove to get that off, and some of them are pretty easy to remove, like this type. It's hard to see that, but you just wedge a flathead screwdriver underneath that little lip there and pry it up like that, and then pull it out. It's pretty simple. Some of them are just screws, Phillips head screws, you can remove easily. Then the rest are a little bit more difficult. There's 2 pieces to them. These 2 pieces, and I still haven't completely figured out how they work, but you pretty much have to pry this first piece out, and then you can take this second piece. There's about 4 of those things, and I've broken some of them getting them out, and that's just the nature of these little plastic clips, and I'll just have to replace them, I guess. But by now, it took me about 15 minutes. This is still dripping, but it's slowed down quite a bit. So I'm going to let it drip out for a while longer, and then I'll go ahead and put that drain plug back in it. Now, on the radiator, this is on the driver's side. This hose right here, you just have to pull this hose clamp back, take this hose off, and a little bit of CVT fluid will drain out of there, so have a container ready. And what you'll do is By the way, this is all, everything I'm talking about now, you're going to do after you've put the drain plug back in here and you've refilled the CVT fluid. And you'll refill it on top of the engine. Right here, you'll take this little cap off. This is a dipstick for the CVT fluid. And you can use this to measure the amount of fluid you put in, or you can use the milk carton like I am. So I'm really not even sure how this comes off. I'm sure I can figure it out though. Anyways, I'll let you know once I figure out how to take that off. But this is where you refill it from, and you refill it before you do the second part at the radiator. So, like I was saying, that hose is right here. You take this off and have a container ready, and I'm going to put another rubber hose on this port from the radiator and stick that rubber hose into the milk jug. And what you do is you start the car and it'll pump that fluid out, and as it's pumping fluid out, you're up here and you're filling more fluid into here. And you also want to keep an eye on that milk jug. Once you can tell, you'll be able to tell, it'll be dirty, murky fluid, and then once clean fluid starts pumping out into the milk jug, that's when you'll want to quit pumping fluid out, put the hose back on, and then you'll just fill this to the proper level. And once you've done that, you'll want to, get the car off the ramps and everything, put everything back together, except for maybe this shield, and drive around maybe for a few minutes, shift it through all the gears, and recheck this fluid level at the dipstick, get that to the proper level, and you should be good to go after that. Put the shield back on, check for leaks. So I'll try and show you the rest of those steps when I get to them. Okay, I got this dipstick pulled off of here. All you do is take a screwdriver and push in. Really, it's right here. There's just a little tab. I don't know if you can see it in there. Probably not. Let me try and get some light. That little tab right there, you just press that in with a screwdriver or something flat, and then pull up at the same time. I would have done it on camera, but it takes two hands, and I'm holding the camera with one hand. So okay, so I'm all done with my transmission fluid change. Sorry I didn't show you the part where I was changing out the fluid from the radiator, but basically I undid the radiator fluid hose, the transmission fluid hose from the radiator, which is right up in there, and I hooked up just a little 1/4-inch fuel line to it, and had my wife start the car. And when I put that tube, let's see if I can just find that tube real quick. Well, oh, here it is. So I hooked up this just little rubber tube and stuck it into this milk jug, and I kind of watched. I had my wife start the car, and I was using a funnel to pour new transmission fluid in here as the car was pumping out old transmission fluid into here, and I kind of watched. About every quart I'd have her shut off the car, and I'd make sure I got finished pouring that quart of new oil into the car. And after 4 quarts I had to empty this, and then I went about 2.5 more quarts, and ended up using a total of about 11.5 quarts. For this, for both parts put together, I think it was about 5 quarts, where I just drained the fluid from the transmission, and then the other 6.5 quarts came from the radiator, and it was pumped out by the car. And you could see the difference from the dirty fluid to the clean fluid. Right when it changed, I had her shut off the car, and that's when I stopped. And then I went ahead and filled this up until it was on the full indicator mark, and then I drove my car around for about 20 minutes, came back, checked it again, and mine happened to be right on after the fluid was at operating temperature. So I guess I'm done. All I'm going to do now is put this cover back on down below, a little splash guard type thing, and that's about it. Anyways, good luck if you're doing this. It's not too difficult, really. In fact, it was quite a bit easier than I thought it was going to be. So I think anyone half mechanically inclined could do this job. Good luck.